Hi, my name is Karen Connolly. This video is part of a series that will explain the type of services I offer and a little bit about my background. This video is about my distant Karuna Reiki healing sessions. I first was attuned to Usui Reiki level 1 about 8 years ago. And six years ago, I became a Reiki master, a master of Karuna Reiki. And the reason I started even learning Reiki was to try to heal myself. So I was using the Reiki on myself, just not I didn't first learn Reiki, with the intent of starting any kind of healing business. Um, and as an example of, how well it works, I was only attuned to Reiki level 1, and my thumb got closed in my car door and I couldn't feel it and it was stuck. I thought my finger was cut off. So I was able to open the door and it was just completely numb. So I was afraid it was, crushed or something, and it was bleeding a little bit. So I called an ambulance because it was the finger that you need to shift. I couldn't drive myself there. And while I was sitting in the emergency room waiting for the doctor to come see me, it took about an hour. During that time, I just decided, you know what? I'm going to give myself Reiki because I'm just sitting here. So every once in a while, I'd feel this really sharp pain, and finally about an hour later the doctor came and she looked at it and she's like, "Oh, good." I'm like, "Good what?" And she said, it's good that the blood had come out through the nail, because if it hadn't, she would have had to drill a hole. So it's like doing the Reiki on myself prevented me from having to have an additional procedure. And then when they took an x-ray of it, there was nothing wrong with my bone. I think I must have had some nerve damage in the tip because there was numbness. But that has completely healed, and the nail never came off. People kept telling me, "Oh, that nail's gonna fall off." It didn't fall off. It was just looked bruised for about 4 or 6 months, however long it took for the whole entire thing to grow out. So I feel that in that case, the Reiki helped me to avoid further, procedures at the hospital, and may have, helped even more. I have no idea. I just know that there was something pretty serious, or I wouldn't have even called, for an ambulance or gotten it checked out. And it was no problems, after giving myself an hour of Reiki. So I want to explain how I do this. I have done it in person. I've volunteered at the hospital in New Jersey, where I performed Reiki on patients in the cancer center who were receiving chemotherapy treatments. And it wasn't just cancer patients, because sometimes they had people who needed transfusions or some other kind of, uh sometimes they need vitamins or some different kind of medication and don't have cancer. So I worked on people in in uh, in the hospital setting. And the way I learned in New York City. So I learned Reiki 1 in New York City. Well, I learned all of Reiki in New York City, but my level 1, my teacher taught me to do it without hands-on, just because the rules in New York, I guess, require you to be either a massage therapist or something like that in order to touch someone. I know there was a really big difference because I went to a Reiki share in New Jersey, and they, I guess, learned with hands on, and it felt so heavy to me to feel their hands on my body. So I've pretty much almost always, almost exclusively work in the energy field above the body, sometimes only, a couple of inches above, sometimes a little higher. It just depends. And so I work in the energy field, and that is a more gentle approach than there was um there were a couple of instances when I was working with someone, and I just felt that it needed more intense healing, and I asked if I could place my hand on, in this case it was a leg, and I felt like I needed to draw in Archangel Raphael and his green healing light. So I was envisioning that pouring into this person while I was giving them Reiki. And then, just out of curiosity, I asked what they were feeling, and they told me that they felt as if something was being sucked up out of them. So I found that very, very interesting and curious. I'd like to hear, how other people, their impression of it, and if they feel anything, because there's also the I guess the mistaken impression from people who have not had Reiki that you have to feel something. I don't always feel something when I'm giving Reiki, and people who receive it don't always feel it either. So just because you're not feeling something does not mean that it is not helping you on a level. And it isn't always possible to control, where Reiki goes. So you can just send someone Reiki. So you can send Reiki for general wellness, or you can send Reiki towards a particular illness or disease that is going on in the person's body. So I've done both. I do it by email. So what I do is, you would say purchase a healing session, and I would give you the option if you wanted if you wanted the Reiki to go towards a specific issue, then you would just email me what the problem is and what you want it to go to, or I can do it in a more intuitive way. I use a little teddy bear to represent the person that I'm working on, and I just feel the energy field around the person to get a sense of where there's an energetic disturbance. See, I don't necessarily know what body part it is when I'm doing just a healing like that. I just get a sense of which chakras, the third eye, the throat, the heart, if your energy is just out of balance. So if you do not want me to direct healing towards a specific issue, I could just send the energy towards balancing your energy, and a general healing, so that at that point it would start to deal with an issue, even if it was a major issue. I this does not, replace any, medical visits or doctors. It's in addition to whatever else you're doing. But it has, I've read studies that show that Reiki has been, proven to relax people. So people with high stress, either chronic illnesses or just high stress careers, could benefit from distant Reiki or in-person Reiki sessions. I do occasionally offer it in person for someone, but most of my clients are, around the world, so they're not usually close enough to warrant an in-person session. And my prices may vary depending on the location of the person. But the distant Reiki, those prices are set on my website, and you can purchase directly through there. So I've been doing I've been a Reiki master, for 6 years now. And for that, for those, first for the first like 2 years I was doing Reiki, just Reiki 1 on myself. I didn't work on others, but I almost immediately started doing the distant Reiki on others and on myself when I went to Kona, Hawaii in June 2009 to do my angel therapy practitioner training with Doreen Virtue. So I that's where I implement the, working with Archangel Raphael, because I did my angel training at around the same time that I was doing my healing training. So I've learned to implement these different tools into one, and they work for you in a deeper way. I don't always bring like Archangel Raphael in, but it's an option if I feel there's a really strong disturbance that needs a more energy than just any form of Reiki at all. So that's just to make the energy stronger. So I do this session, and as I'm doing it, I'm usually sitting in front of my computer and I'm typing my impressions as I receive them. I might say, I'm feeling a disturbance around your sinus area, or I might just get specific, areas of concern, or something of that nature, and I would just write that down in the email that I send as soon as I finish sending the energy. And sometimes I'm guided to continue the session beyond the session, so I then ask for the energy to continue to be sent for whatever amount of time that I am hearing that you need it. So it could be a few hours, it could be a day or two sometimes. So you might continue to receive healing energy even after your you've received the email and read it. So you might continue to receive benefits from that. And it's a good idea to make sure you're drinking a lot of water, and to if you're not feeling well, take it easy so that the energy can do its work without having to combat you also exhausting yourself. But in general, if you're just a normally healthy person, just make sure you're hydrated anyway, and you wouldn't need to do anything special during or after receiving a session. You also don't need to have a session scheduled at a particular time. I usually send it at night, maybe before I go to bed, which tends to be pretty late Eastern time. And people can receive the healing while they sleep, or the next, when they awaken. It's up to them. But I send it so that it goes to them when I'm sending it. But just on the off chance, make sure that you're accepting it. And that would be presumed you'd be wanting to do that since you'd purchased a healing. So this sometimes this is a full length session what I'm describing. I can also offer like a small weekly session, and if you have some kind of serious issue, you might want to get that small dose of energy every week. I offer it for a week, a month, a year, whatever you feel would benefit you most. And with a chronic illness or situation, it might be better to continue it just a little bit of energy every week. And because with that one, you don't get as the personalized email, like I'm going through a full session and sensing your whole your whole aura and your whole body and seeing if there's anything else that I'm feeling that you might need to work on. You're not getting that. I'm just sending the energy to that one specific issue that you let me know you want to receive it for. So that's slightly different, but I do offer that as well. So you can find out more about this by going to my website, KarenConnolly.com. I will put up a link below the video for you to sign up for my email list. I occasionally offer um, special savings offers on certain services, just so people can have a chance to try them out if they'd been considering it and weren't sure if it was for them. And thank you for listening to my video, and I hope to work with you soon.